Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. Now, remember that on my Loving Life Live channel, I am starting to post a few videos, so I'll put the link directly below in the description. Please make sure you subscribe to that as well, because from the 1st of January 2021, all live streams will be going through that channel. So if you don't subscribe to that channel, you're going to miss out on the live streams that you enjoy every night here on the main Loving Live channel. So the choice is yours. Now, I got a very interesting email from Rhino, who sent me his analysis on the economic freedom fighters. And I'm going to just tell you what he says. Critical thinking is to think for ourselves. We need to reflect upon how we think. We need to question the world and be susceptible to new ideas and ideologies. When you are thinking critical, you must not let any preconceived ideas taint your judgment. Informed reasoning means to think without taking things such as preconceived ideas for granted, but to be open to other people's beliefs and ideas. Critical self-reflection is about thinking for yourself and not like the media or other parties that want to dictate to you on how to think according to them. There are three types of fallacies, namely emotional, structural, and distraction fallacies. A fallacy is a deceptive argument that wants to persuade us into believing the argument, but it contains a fundamental flaw. In an argument, there is always a premise and a conclusion. Fallacies will occur when the premise does not truly support the conclusion, or the other way around. When looking at some of the statements of the leader of the economic freedom fighters, it becomes very clear that Mr. Julius Malema uses some of these methods frequently when making a public appearance. In his speech at Senegal, Mr. Julius Malema said that those who are rich and privileged are white, those who are poor, dejected, and rejected are black, and African in particular. When Mr. Julius Malema makes such statements, the question, what is he doing, quickly comes to mind. Well, here is a theoretical answer to that according to my knowledge and perception of the matter. Such a statement can be classified as an emotional fallacy known as appealing to the masses, where a political leader will try to appeal to popular feeling or mass sentiment to persuade someone. Thus, according to me, Mr. Malema is appealing to the masses to gain support. In another statement, Mr. Malema says, "We did not die and get imprisoned to sleep with white people in the same ditches. We did not die and get imprisoned to go to the same schools as white people." Now, I'm going to interrupt this letter for a moment. Julius Malema's son is going to a private white school. This is the complete and utter deception that this terrorist is putting out there. Let's get back to the letter. I'll start again in that paragraph. In another statement, Mr. Malema says, "We did not die and get imprisoned to sleep with white people in the same ditches. We did not die and get imprisoned to go to the same schools as white people." That can be seen as a hasty generalization that has insufficient evidence. That statement, according to my opinion, is also contradictory to other statements that Mr. Julius Malema made and actions that were launched by the EFF. The contradiction of that statement for me lies in the action that the economic freedom fighters launched against the Brackenfell incident. In the Brackenfell incident, the Economic Freedom Fighters Party was unhappy because of the fact that students of the Brackenfell school did not invite black students to a matric farewell party. The controversy is that in the statement, the Economic Freedom Fighters leader most likely implied that his party does not want diversity in schools, but that its schools should be occupied by one race. But the Economic Freedom Fighters' actions at Brackenfell is different. The Economic Freedom Fighters fought for more diversity. When also looking at the fact of the Brackenfell incident, there can be found that the school did not arrange a matric farewell. A group of students privately made arrangements to make a private ceremony like a matric farewell. There is a slew of fallacies, and we must remember that every political party uses them to try and get your vote. It just seems that Mr. Malema relies heavily on these fallacies. Almost every time Mr. Malema speaks, he uses a different array of fallacies, such as the straw man fallacies, ad hominem, false appeal to authority, faulty analogy, appealing to the masses, hasty generalizations, and false dilemmas. A good example of the effects these fallacies has on South Africa can be seen in the Clicks and now Brackenfell sagas. In the Clicks saga, Mr. Malema started with the statement, "A revolutionary is not a criminal." These so-called revolutionary acts that were done by the Economic Freedom Fighter members led to click shops being vandalized and, of course, burnt. This statement is a good example of a faulty analogy. The Brackenfell incident is also a good example of a false dilemma that was created by the Economic Freedom Fighters. And I must personally add that the South African Human Rights Commission, for some weird reason, has bought into this argument. And they've done nothing about the actions of Julius Malema and the Economic Freedom Fighters, which is quite extraordinary. Let's get back to the letter. It is thus evident that Mr. Julius Malema is a master of wordplay and that his statements have serious ramifications not only for the South African citizen but also for the South African economy. When the Economic Freedom Fighters shuts down an institution such as Clicks, that action of the Economic Freedom Fighters is hurting the economy, because the shutdown caused by the Economic Freedom Fighters causes supply and demand change in the economy. The Economic Freedom Fighters is thus interfering with the flow of the economy and affecting everyone negatively in the process. Now, once again, I'm going to interrupt this and say, look, the Economic Freedom Fighters are not a political party. They are a terrorist organization. Their leaders should be behind bars, and the organization itself should be disbarred and just broken up into nothingness where it belongs. Let's continue. The letter says, we must also remember that what I am saying is just a part of the total picture, and since Mr. Malema is so good with molding statements into whatever suits him, there can easily be said that I'm giving a Bates analogy of the EFF, or Economic Freedom Fighters, and the African National Congress. Therefore, I want to make you aware of the following. Mr. Malema and the African National Congress and various other parties know how to make statements that in the end make them look neutral and or sympathetic towards a group of people and not baits towards any racial group. But when we look closer, it comes down to the actions of the parties. That is how we can see the true intentions of a political party. Thus, when Mr. Malema says, "Down with the white racism and supremacy," and then later says that he only wants to put an end to white racism and that he has no problem with a white man that accepts the Constitution and obeys the rules of South Africa, that statement creates a dangerous paradox. Because how can you classify a white racist when an economic freedom fighter member says a person is a racist? What do they mean? Because you cannot determine at face value if a person is a racist or not. This is a classical depiction of the difference of the actions being taken and what has been implied. A rational person would ask, why is this happening? What is the reason for it? The answer would be that there are many reasons for it, but a large part of the reason is that the ANC is falling apart. There is conflict among the different factions that is part of the ANC or the African National Congress who run South Africa. Government gridlock is a paralysis of the government resulting from institutional rivalry within a government. A dominant party is a party that enjoys dominance for a large period of time. There is other parties competing for government, but there is only one party that enjoys dominance. The most significant tendency in a dominant party is the shifting that happens from competition between parties, factional conflict within the party. The ANC is a dominant party, and the problem with that is that the ANC has been the ruling party for too long. The tripartite alliance that consists out of the COSATU, South African Communist Party, and the African National Congress is not working together anymore. They are in gridlock. The ANC wants to create a one-nation identity, but it's clear that they are failing at it. The fact that the ANC is gridlocked and cannot create a one-nation identity gives rise to a radical party like the economic freedom fighters because of the fact the ruling party is ineffective. When we take a further look into the actions of the ANC, we can also see that via the use of the National Prosecuting Authority, that the ANC has found a loophole to interfere with the judicial authority. The President can interfere with who is being prosecuted and can then inevitably interfere with the outcome of the prosecution. This is a sign of corruption and abuse of authority. In summary, the fact that the ANC is a party that has been in power for 21 years makes it very easy for radical parties to win favor amongst the nation. The inefficiency of the ANC because of the government gridlock and corruption has made the nation weary of the ANC and desperate for change. That is why radical parties such as the economic freedom fighters enjoy so much appeal and can get away with unlawful actions such as hate speech. Due to this, the ANC can be depicted as a dinosaur. Mr. Malema can say almost anything he wants to say as long as it sounds as if he is going to take action and make the South African nation great again. Therefore, it is easy for radical parties to gain appeal because they are telling their members what they want to hear. Thus, the ANC has caused a festering situation where, in the effect of its incompetence, is fueling radical parties such as the economic freedom fighters to gain more members. By promising these members they will justifiably get everything wrong that has been committed by the ANC. In this sense, it is clear that is not rampant corruption that is the biggest wrong the ANC has committed in the eyes of the economic freedom fighters, but instead the issue of land that, according to them, has not been rectified. You must remember, yet again, that every political party tries to appeal to their members and uses the same tactics as Mr. Julius Malema. Therefore, there cannot be said that I'm singling out the economic freedom fighters and the African National Congress, or ANC. The only reason why the economic freedom fighters and ANC is prominent in this analysis is because they provoke the most controversy, and the economic freedom fighter manages to get the most appeal. That is the reason why I use the EFF, or Economic Freedom Fighters, and the ANC as an example. The EFF speeches is filled with fallacies and premises that do not match their conclusions, yet the ANC and EFF enjoy huge support. A last look at the EFF and associates of the EFF will show that the party is made up of a group of campaign socialists. The leaders in the EFF party that are high up endorse a luxurious lifestyle, while their members suffer in poverty. This is typical because the poor masses are typically not highly educated and strive together for a better life. It is therefore ingrained in their mentality to share and help each other. That is where socialists, Marxists, communists, and campaign socialist parties take advantage of them, advocating precisely to them what they want to hear and not in fact what they need to hear. As far as associates of the economic freedom fighters goes, there was a reference in an article about Mr. Malema's endorsement of Robert Mugabe during his visit to Zimbabwe. If Mr. Malema endorses oppressive leaders such as Robert Mugabe, is that not a sign of the future of South Africa under the Economic Freedom Fighters banner? A last question that can be asked is, why does the United Nations not intervene? The UN's job is to keep the peace, and there are various agents in South Africa that is disrupting the peace, may it be violence, crime, corruption, political leaders promoting hate speech and racism, or inefficient political leaders. My only purpose with this analysis is to open the eyes of anyone that hears and reads this article to the fact that the media and political parties try to distract you from the truth. They are eager to mislead you to gain your loyalty and your vote. They want to make you a mouthpiece for them so that they can spread their word and promote their party. I also want to make it clear to everyone that the political parties are not above us. If you really realize what that party is doing is wrong, don't let them get away with it. So in the end, political parties rely on our votes. They need us. Okay, that's just this guy's observations, and it was quite interesting, so I've just put it out there. Please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates. Please like this video. Please share this video, and above all, please stay safe. Bye for now.